downstairs, I think a car or. Okay. Okay, let's go up here. So, okay. Also, yeah, okay, great. Thank you. So what's upstairs is the police department, one of their what they can do with my father. This building goes back to the early 23rd, 1930.
Whatever you return, I think pay is gonna be going to the police. Pay,
Of course,
no, she needs to be.
That's why they have to know that at least. I'll be done because on the I angle and Tasha creates the.
So probably good.
Yes, it's going on. Yeah, yeah. St. Michael is on the opposite side. There's this side of well here on the other side.
It's a big measure.
Want to make sure we give as much information as we have to the community and express about whatever we want.
Hello, everyone. We will start our meeting, and we'll start with roll call.
Okay, I will be calling roll call. Those who are on Zoom, unmute yourself when you hear your name, say here at present, and mute yourself once again. Julio Peña, the third. Jonathan Martinez, thank you. Rosie Mota. Grisela Major. Grisel has raised her hand, so I acknowledge you. You don't count towards quorum. Damian Andrade. Jalia Bailey. Joan Body, thank you. Esteban Chavez. Maria Cruz, thank you. Jamie Freed. Nicole Huang. Cynthia Jeffers. Joanna Romero. Pat Ruiz. Pat Ruiz. Kalina Surma. Michael Tom. Roll call's been called.
Right, so we'll start out the meeting. First, thank you everyone that are present in the room for showing up on this important topic. Um, all right, so I'll start again. Thank you everyone for being present today on this important matter. Today we have two presentations. The first presentation will be from Maimonides Medical Center, and the second presentation will be on New York City free tax prep. We'll start with the Maimonides presentation by Amir Abadi, which will be giving us an update on Maimonides Medical Center and New York City Health and Hospital merger. With that, we pass it to the presenter.
Thank you so much. I'd like to start by turning it over to the great Douglas Jablin to do a quick introduction while I set up our PowerPoint.
How are you? First of all, thank you for having us here. I'm at the hospital for almost 50 years. And let me tell you, the growth and what we do at this hospital is unbelievable. We speak over 160 languages. We have a full-time priest. We have a full-time imam, a full-time rabbi, and we have a volunteer department, over 2,000 people there that come. We also have other different programs that are very, very important to us. We have a summer youth program that we have almost 360 young people come. We also have for special needs, we have about 60 special needs young people come, which they do a phenomenal job. And we do a lot of stuff, and we're very, very interested, especially in this neighborhood, which I lived on 12th Avenue, 48th Street. I was born there. So I remember my parents used to take me to 5th Avenue and shop. You see good stuff over here. And what could I say, that we're doing this partnership just to strengthen our needs. And I have Amir, when you hear him, he's like a wonderful person. And when Amir fell from heaven, I hope it didn't hurt you. But what can I say here? I'm going to give you Amir.
Thank you, Douglas. Douglas has been with the hospital 50 years. He's a pillar of the institution, and he's a pleasure to work with. So tonight, we're going to be talking about an ongoing conversation we're having with health and hospitals. Is this loud enough? We're having with health and hospitals, talking about the future of Maimonides Medical Center. First, let me just go over who we are. So Maimonides Health is 3 hospitals and 80 locations throughout the borough of Brooklyn. We serve 32,000 unique patients every year, 35,000 annual inpatient discharges, 800,000 outpatients, 5,000 deliveries. We have several facilities that make us world-renowned, from our pediatric level 2 trauma center, which we recently opened, prenatal center, stroke center, several community resources that provide high-quality care to the people of Brooklyn. When we talk about what is happening at Maimonides, it's important to understand it in the picture of what's happening to hospitals across the country. Over the past several years, safety net hospitals, which is a designation a medical facility gets when a disproportionate amount of its patients receive government insurance, we're talking Medicare and Medicaid, are financially stressed. So the safety net hospitals across the state have been struggling because of 2 major issues. The first is Medicaid has not given reimbursement rates on par with private insurance. Our hospital has increasingly been seeing an influx of Medicare and Medicaid patients, and we have been an anchor institution of those two programs for a considerable amount of time. Unfortunately, though, those two programs do not pay what you would get if you got your service elsewhere. We receive about 70 cents on the dollar when we get a Medicaid patient and about 82 cents on the dollar for a Medicare patient. So we're providing the same high quality care to the people of this community, but based off of the insurance we receive, we're actually receiving less resources for that care. And that issue has been getting more severe over time because the federal and state funding for these programs has either been frozen or decreased over time. And our hospital has increased the amount of patients it's gotten. So that's not a good financial outlook. You're getting less money per patient and you're getting more of those patients. We have a great safety net that we are incredibly proud of, but sustainability has always been our concern because we want to be able to be here for another generation of families. So we've been looking at what our options are to be that anchor institution. And that's a conversation we've been going through for years now, and we finally got into a place where we're ready to report out the success of that journey. Now, the institution we have to particularly thank is the state of New York, though, because throughout this conversation, throughout this time, our state governor and our state elected officials have provided us with emergency financial relief for any periods of time where we've been particularly struggling. And that has allowed us to keep our doors open and continue to provide that high quality service I mentioned. But that is emergency relief that has been becoming more and more frequent. So creating a real solution that allows us to be sustainable has been a part of the conversation we're seeing now. Just to give you an idea of the numbers, just in a better sense. So if you look at this graph, you see the red is how much we would be getting if we were receiving private insurance. The yellow is what we would receive for Medicare, and the blue is what we would receive for Medicaid. So it gives you an idea of the three different growth over the last 15 years in each program. So one program has been skyrocketing, providing hospitals with more resources to better invest. Medicare, which has been pretty well funded by comparison, has been able to keep up to date about the same, but it's really Medicaid that has seen the most stagnation in the amount of funding it's getting, which is causing a person who's receiving Medicaid to get a different quality of service in other facilities than ours. Our facility is proud itself on being that anchor institution, and it doesn't matter what insurance you get, we're going to treat you with the best care we can. But there's a cost to that. And because we're seeing a lot of those patients, that cost is starting to show up in our balance sheet. Even with all of those costs, you also factor in things like labor, which is a major contributor that has outpaced revenue. The state Medicaid program has been flat across the state due to changes to the program in Washington. 75 hospitals across, there's currently 75 hospitals in what's considered safety net status, which means so much of their money is coming from these two programs. That's up from 20, which was the number in the pandemic. So this is a trend, again, across the state. It's not unique to us. And add on top of that, recent changes to these programs have also meant the financial outlook for these programs is more dire for an institution like ours than it was before. So we've had challenges in the near term because of the changing of these programs. We're also foreseeing future problems because these programs are getting even less funding in the near future. Because of that, we're having this conversation now. But this is all stemming from in 2014 when we saw this outlook coming. We started having conversations with different partners. The core of these conversations has always been maintaining and expanding our care, continuing to provide the quality care this community expects, and to strengthen our financial outlook. And we were hoping by joining a larger network, we were better able to handle the finances of our institution. And we started having conversations with different organizations like Northwell, like different partners. And we found a conversation that is extremely fruitful and we're very optimistic about. With all of these conversations happening, I also want to make very clear, none of that impacted our ability to serve this community. We are incredibly proud of how we prioritize the investments that this community needs. We've been able to significantly expand our emergency department, which is a major resource this community has leaned on, from opening up our Bay Ridge Emergency Department to expanding our NICU, to opening up the first children's emergency department in the borough of Brooklyn. All of these are major expansions we've done in the same financial outlook I just presented. We've maintained ourselves as the #1 ranked children's hospital in the country, high patient satisfaction scores, high survivability rate, the quality of services you get here at our hospital is something we're very proud of. The investments and the long-term physical outlook, the long-term stability of our ability to continue to provide these services is why we're having this conversation. The game changer, the decider for us was when the state told us that with a partnership with Health and Hospitals, we would be able to receive a $2.2 billion grant. That grant would cover a lot of investments into the hospital and provide us with a level of financial stability we've not had as a hospital in years. That also allows us to upgrade our patient services. In particular, the thing we're the most excited about is Epic. For those who don't know what Epic is, it is a software that integrates everything from your doctors to your labs to the mobile app on your phone. With Epic, all of these systems can communicate and you can make your appointments faster, you can get your results faster. It is the standard for hospitals across the country now. Because of our financial struggles, we've not been able to participate in the EPIC program until now. By joining Health and Hospitals and by getting this grant funding from the federal government, in as short as a year or two, we'll be able to have EPIC integrated into our system, to have all of the different sites, offices, and patients communicating in one system that provides high quality service. We'd also have investments for facility upgrades across our campus and that operational support we've been looking for. So this $2.2 billion grant is a big deal for us, and we're very happy to be a recipient of this from the state as a part of the partnership conversation we're having with New York City Health and Hospital. Beyond just the grant money, which is a 5-year grant, we're also seeing an increase in the amount of revenue we're going to get per patient. Public hospitals get a better reimbursement rate from these government programs than private insurance and private hospitals do. So we would actually get another $100 million by becoming a public institution that's not made available to us now. And that's in perpetuity. We would be able to continue to serve this community getting paid better as a public institution than the private institution are now. We are also hoping to connect our specialties, which are some of the best, actually are the best in Brooklyn, to the Health and Hospitals family. We would be able to provide things like cardiac procedures to Health and Hospitals patients across Brooklyn. That would increase the amount of revenue we would see and also maximize the usage of the resources we have by creating a family of patients that transcend just our brick and mortar facility and becomes a part of the Health and Hospitals network. All of this to say, the partnership has been a thing that we've been focused on a lot. We want to maintain access and expand access to our specialties. We want to maintain our culture, our high quality services. We want to provide care that's integrated and coordinated. We want to be able to invest in our facility and our equipment. And by having this conversation with Health and Hospitals, by having this investment from the state, by having this better safety net we're a part of, our financial outlook looks a lot brighter because of this conversation, which is why we are very adamant in making this successful. The conversation's ongoing. We're going to forecast some of the timeline we have now. The goal of finalizing the merger is April 1st. That is a soft deadline. It might be a week or two after that. But the idea is by that point, our facility would actually be a part of the public hospital system. Our staff would be a part of the consulting team that is brought on board within Health and Hospitals. We would have our same nurses, their contracts would be honored. We would have our rank and file staff would have their contracts honored. And we would be a part of the family in a unique arrangement where we are a part of a consulting organization working within Health and Hospitals. What I am also going to say is a lot of this is still in negotiations. There's literally an army of lawyers in a room working out all the details of this deal, which means I don't have answers to every question. I have answers to some questions. My job tonight and Douglas's job tonight is to give you as much information as we have now and to promise that we'll be back. Once this deal is actually done and once all the details are finalized, we'll be able to answer any questions we can't answer tonight. But we just want you to know that we are your community facility. We're proud of that, and we will continue to be that. And we think this is going to be a merger that provides this community with even more resources, not less, by being a part of the public hospital system. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will open the floor for questions. And you want to start with the question?
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for coming. I am a long list of time spent at Maimonides. And I have to thank you. My son is there today, but thank God it's not for what he was there for a few years ago, which was stage 4 cancer. And you pulled him through. He was in bad shape. Okay. Your emergency room at the hospital, I don't know, you know, it's overwhelmed. Beds are, do you have any?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that comment. And it's something that resonates with every person on our team. It's been a priority for us for more than a decade since the first conversation happened about the first 10-year plan that we've seen, that we're just wrapping up. We are now proud to say that we are at the 75% mark of quadrupling the emergency department. That is due to the expansion of the Bay Ridge site. That is due to the build out of our children's emergency department. The next phase of that last 25%, is renovating the existing emergency department to allow the children's wing of that to become a full emergency department. We've known that our emergency department needs to be expanded for a while, and it has been an ongoing project we're working on. And one of the things we're doing now is creating that next 10-year plan. And now that we have the financial outlook in a more positive lens with Health and Hospitals as our partner, once the deal gets done, fingers crossed, hope everything works out, we will be able to make that next 10-year plan and come to that next level of service when it comes to our emergency department. So that's me answering what we've done, which is expand across the street to the Children's Hospital, create a satellite location in Bay Ridge, and the next phase of that is renovate the existing site. The next phase after that, we'll come back to you when we know. And hopefully we'll have a much better timeline than the timeline you've seen so far. That was what I did.
You know, like, again, why is the emergency so busy? Because thank God we have great doctors, and great medical staff. And people really want to come to our hospital. That's why people wait. And, you know, it's a big problem. I get calls 24 hours a day, people waiting for beds, and my heart goes out. But as soon as they go upstairs and everything is, the treatment and everything, people are very satisfied. People do complain about the wait in the emergency room, but as soon as they go upstairs and they get what's needed, thank God, like with your son, we do very well. And you have to forgive us, but because of our medical care, what we give, that's why we're pretty crowded.
To reiterate the question is, within the capital plan, the existing capital plan that you apply for to do the merger, is the emergency department part of the capital plan?
So right now, we are at the end phase of our 10-year capital plan. So this is a plan I think was launched in 2015 or 2016. The phases of that were us going to Bay Ridge and opening that site, us going to the Children's Hospital, opening that site, and now it's us renovating the older emergency room so that it can be expanded in its capacity. We want to create another phase of growth. But in order for us to create another phase of growth, we need to have a clear financial outlook of where the money to pay for that is going to come from. Thanks to the fact that we have this grant opportunity, which is not given to us until we merge. So we have a promise of funds, but until we actually have a deal with Health and Hospitals, which we're right at the edge of, we're not getting a single dollar. Now, once we have that money in our pocket and once we have that outlook of this is what our finances are going to look like going forward, we'll create another 10-year capital plan that includes expanding our emergency department even further.
Piggyback on my last question, is the merger going to, you allowed to keep your capital plan, which you say started in 2016 all the way to, I'm assuming, this year. So you're allowed to keep that plan And once the merger happens, then you will have to create another capital plan. That's what you're saying? And is that the emergency department is part of the capital plan?
Well, I'm not promising anything because I'm not one of the people in the room making that. I will just tell you, we know that our emergency department has seen significant growth. We are very proud of that growth, and part of our plan is to keep growing. So I hope that answers your question in the vague way I can answer your question. But we understand that the emergency department is a resource that is vital to this community. We're proud of that resource.
Thank you so much. This is really clarifying. Whenever there's a merger, we've heard about all the positives, but usually there's some negatives. What are some of the negatives, particularly negatives that will affect the community?
It's another great question. A negative that would affect the community, I think the thing we're all watching for is making sure identity stays throughout this conversation. And that's something both sides are very important to understanding. They want us to stay us. They want to be a part of us as much as we want to be a part of them. They don't have world-renowned cardiologists. They don't have some of the best surgeons in the world. They want to keep that culture because they want their patients to use that culture too. So throughout this process, everybody on every side of the table is trying to preserve our identity through this process. But just like with every merger, we are working on it together. So I am proud of the conversations that are happening, but you judge us at the end results. Did we keep our identity through this process?
Funny thing is that they see us with our cultures that we have, that language, any language is spoken at us, the cultures that we keep, like we have a mosque in the hospital, we have a synagogue, we're planning a church, and they see, and when H&H comes and they see, it's unbelievable how everybody is like one family. We don't believe in patients, we believe in family. As soon as you come in there, you become a family member, and everybody is, it's unbelievable how everybody is treated.
A follow-up question. Before I ask my question, I think Pat is in.
Yes, I do. Hi, thank you both for coming. I know Doug Jablon's name for many years from my past at Lutheran Medical Center. But my question is in regard to the Attorney General's request about not agreeing to the fast track. Is that something you think is going to happen? If it does, what's the effect for the April 1st?
So it's a ongoing legal matter, but I'm told by our attorneys that we're expecting the timeline to only be moderately adjusted by this additional step to the process. We're very confident that this merger will continue to go through. It just adds another step in the final step.
All right, but just out of curiosity, if it were to be delayed, is there a plan B?
So we are confident that plan A is going to work. So we don't want to share a plan B that we have no plans on using.
Positivity is a good thing.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much.
We have a board member, Grisela Mador. She's unable to speak because of her computer, there's something wrong with her computer, but she wanted to go on record to say that in her opinion, Maimonides Centers is an excellent hospital.
Now that come April, the ambulances, do they automatically bring people to a New York Health and Hospital before any other hospital?
Great question. So that is actually city law. The city recently changed the law to require ambulances to dispatch people to the nearest hospital. So no matter who you are, if you are within a radius of a hospital, you're going to that hospital in an emergency. So if you get sick right here, I'm assuming your emergency room would be the closest one, which is our hospital. That's new law. I think it's what, the last 2 years, year.
Thank you.
A follow-up. Okay, Thank you, I didn't know that. But if you request the driver to take you to Hospital ABC, can they?
Yeah. Yeah. This is where the legality of this is at the edge of our expertise. What I believe is a publicly funded ambulance is no longer allowed to take you where you want to go. It takes you to where you're supposed to go. But there are ambulance and private ambulances that don't have to follow those rules. I'm 85% sure that's the rule. Yeah.
Sometimes you have a doctor in another hospital, you're a doctor. Yeah. It's a very good question. Oh, I apologize. That's an excellent question. Say you have a doctor in so-and-so hospital that's like maybe 2 miles away from the other place. It's a question that we're going to bring up tomorrow, and we'll definitely get back to you. It's an excellent question.
Make note of that. So I know that you before the merger you were getting 70 cents for Medicaid patients. What would be the new reimbursement in terms of after the merger for Medicaid patients?
So when I say a general number like that, it is very calculated by our finance department because there's different reimbursement rates for different circumstances. For example, if you are a Medicaid patient and you come to our hospital versus another hospital, different hospitals in different regions get paid different rates. So I can't give you a standard percentage increase. The number I like to use, because it has been vetted by our finance people, is overall, we're expecting another $100 million just by the reimbursement rate approval alone. So that's the number we feel very comfortable saying, in that the exact same patient comes to this hospital at the exact same rate. We don't see a single new patient. This year versus the year we're in health and hospitals, there's going to be another $100 million in our coffers.
I'm saying this because given the new implementation of the HR1 provisions at the state level, a lot of the reimbursement is in question at this moment, especially for the 200 to 250% of the poverty level. So if your reasoning for doing the merger is to acquire new reimbursement money from Medicaid, what's the plan on that?
Great question. I'm actually glad you're putting into context the HR1 part of this conversation. So the thing that HR1 does more than anything is it creates a new uncertainty to our long-term outlook, because we don't know how much of HR1 is going to be implemented and how much is going to be revised on a state level or a federal level. There's some conversations occurring on a federal level of undoing some parts of it. There's some conversations on a state level of replacing the state's money with replacing federal money with state money. With all of that uncertainty in the air, we have to assume the worst case scenario, which is causing us to look at a $2.2 billion grants way more enticing now than before HR1 passed. So the uncertainty of all of that is unfortunately the answer to your question. We don't know how much money we're going to get, so we're assuming we're not going to get any of it, which is why our outlook in the next few years is pretty dire. We're hoping it's not as dire as we're calculating.
In terms of services, staff, are we losing any services or staff with the merger?
This time, part of the conversation is once the merger happens, all the nurses and 32BJ employees' union contracts will be honored, and all of the non-union staff will have a 250-day moratorium where we can be integrated into the health and hospital system before any change of personnel will be impacted.
The leaders of H&H are very impressed with all our staff, which there was many comments coming from them on a constant basis. You'd be a very good teacher. I had a teacher like you in the 3rd grade.
In terms of leadership, how do the structure look like? Are you guys want to keep the same administrators? Who will be administrating the new system?
Great question. So one of the requirements for us to become a public institution is our current nonprofit has to dissolve and has to transfer its assets to a public institution. And a public institution needs to have public leadership, which means our CEO will be departing, and we've actually had Health and Hospitals that nominated a new CEO that's going to report directly to their leadership. We're in the middle of that transition. With the new CEO, we will probably see some other senior leadership changes, but that CEO has prioritized preserving our identity on a staff level. And that's the conversation that's unfolding now, how to preserve the staff culture, the staff environments with the leadership change, which is required for this process.
Can you give us a breakdown of like your reimbursement buckets? Like what percentage do you get from Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance?
So that's a great question because when I first got hired, I tried to learn that myself. Then when I met the finance department and they showed me a Excel spreadsheet with like 80 tabs, you start to understand that the reimbursement rate depends on the insurance coverage you have, depends on the type of procedure you have, depends on the doctor that's providing you the procedure, which is why everything that I'm going to give you when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid, and even private insurance is a very, very round estimate based on a lot of factors. So it's not as simple as me giving you like one specific thing because there's so many factors that contribute to the rate.
Yeah, but I understand that part of it. I also work on data like that. But can you give us a rough estimate of what is your distribution in terms of Medicaid, Medicare?
Oh, so right now we receive 85% of our patients are on Medicare and Medicaid.
Can you break it down? What is Medicaid, Medicare?
I don't remember. Is it in my PowerPoint? If not, I can get you those numbers in the morning. That's not. Yeah, it's very heavy.
We have a very heavy
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like 60, 25. Like it's Medicaid heavy. I'm pretty sure that's it. But I'll get you exact numbers tomorrow.
Thank you so much. I'm saying this because like I'm going back to the same topic in terms of reimbursement. The whole reasoning of the merger is because you guys going to get more money in terms of Medicaid patients. What if the reimbursement is not happening in terms of like the specific population that needs to be paid for is not happening? So then what is the plan in terms of like the community services, staff, and anything that will be impacting the district directly?
So when it comes to budgets, I used to work in the city council. So a general rule with budgets is once you cross the 2-year forecast, it's all a guess because there's so many factors that affect your budget. When it comes to us, every budget cycle, we work with the New York Hospital Associations to develop a pragmatic, if these changes happens, how much will it cost for us? But we do it right before the budget because there's so many factors that change every year. Any estimate beyond like a month before the budget is due can be dramatically different than a year from now. So I say all that to say I can give you the outlook today, but the outlook tomorrow is going to look very different based off a lot of factors. Like, does the budget this year give us more money for Medicaid? Does it give us additional grants? Are there cuts on a federal government level that I'm unaware of? All of those things are going to affect our bottom line and affect our ability to project long term. We've always had a very conservative outlook long term because we always have to assume the worst. And that has caused us to keep our doors open even in tough times, but it also means it makes it sometimes hard to afford the things we really want.
Got it. Can you talk more about the partnerships with other hospitals, clinic centers in the area as a result of the merger? Are you guys going to keep the same partnership?
Yeah,
Or what is the outlook in that area?
The reason we lean towards health and hospitals is because we've been partnering with them on several different fronts already. We have existing partnerships with Kings County, with South Brooklyn to have some of their patients fed into some of our services. This is a further expansion of that partnership. It seemed like a natural evolution because, again, we provide levels of specialty they can't within their network, which is why they're looking at us as a lucrative growth opportunity.
Especially cardiac, we get a lot of transfers from the other hospitals coming to us. And also with the oncology departments also, we get a lot.
Merger, those services will be added to the existing?
Yes. So the way I like to think of it is they're sending their patients to our facilities. So we're going to be seeing more patients within their family. So right now we have to find the patients ourselves because they have such a vast footprint in Brooklyn. They can now send us patients to help us with that.
The amount of patients you guys going to be getting on top of what you guys already have is a concern given the emergency department capacity at the moment. Can you talk more about that, please?
Great question. So the issues you're seeing in the emergency department is a capacity concern. What we're talking about are the outpatient and clinical services that can be more planned and growth strategically. For example, a doctor that comes in 1 day a week, we can ask them to come in 2 days a week now that we have an increased patient volume. So it's a little easier to upscale growth in specialties if the patients are there and the finances work out. Brick and mortar things like building out an emergency department, so it's going to be more challenging.
Thank you. So I was reviewing some of the information in your package, the package that was submitted for the merger. And I see that out of all the money that was granted, the $2,245,000,000, a big bunch of that money will be given to debt relief. Can you talk more about that?
Yes. So one of the ways that we are going to see our operating support is through debt relief. So there's quite a bit of assets we borrowed against in order to stabilize our finances. The state has decided that the cleanest way to help support us is by absolving us of some of those debts, basically pay those bills for us so that we can go into this relationship with health and hospitals with a lower balance sheet and more of a net positive asset to our buildings. Some of it, for example, are mortgage on buildings and things like that to pay for equipment or to continue with operating costs. So seeing relief from that debt is their way of supporting our continued operation.
So the debt that is currently owned by Maimonides Hospital will be transferred to H&H.
No, so the way it would work is by transferring ourselves to H&H, the state would intervene in order to pay off any debt our closing nonprofit has on the books. So I'm going to make up a scenario because I don't have all the details in front of me. But let's say this center, this clinic borrowed $1 million to expand. Once that clinic is transferred from the nonprofit we are now to a public institution, that $1 million debt would be forgiven by a state payment to our bank.
In terms of the capital funding, I see that is allocated out of the amount that it was granted to the merger is $500 million for the capital funding. I know that you mentioned Epic is a big component of this. Can you talk more about what else it is included in that capital, given the amount of money that is being allocated to it?
So most of the capital that I could give you an answer for is the last steps of our 10-year capital plan from 2015, 2017. Every year, we always advocate for capital investments from our facility, from the state, from the feds, from the city, in order to just keep to the plan we already have on the books. Most of that money is going to be used to finish that plan. Then there's going to be new opportunities with what's left of that money, which we're developing the plan for. So, for example, I keep talking about the renovations internally within the hospital. Those are very high on our list. We have this very ambitious plan to renovate our the birthing suites. Yeah, the birthing center. That's a thing that's been a part of our 10-year capital plan for a while. And now because of this injection of financial resources, it moves from a thing we're going to do to one of the first things we're going to do. So it allows us to keep our promises and accelerate our timelines because of the finances.
But you want to?
Are there any plans to upgrade the hospital itself?
So there's no plans in the immediate future to like build a new building yet. The thing though that this does create is it creates stability. So it allows us to be more ambitious with our investments. So I don't want to promise that we're going to have yeah, equipment is something that is top of the list because it's one of those easier renovations that patients will feel faster. But the more strategic growth, like building a new building, there's a lot of logistics to that, which is why you have to look at it through a 10-year lens. Because what do you do with the existing building? How do you move the patients? All of these things have to be put into consideration for you to do a 10-year capital plan. That's why all institutions this big do their plans in big blocks, because everything affects everything else. Where you place the HVAC system affects your ability to use that for parking for your ambulances. Like, all of those things need to be planned out together in some kind of structure. So a new building may be a part of our, probably will be a part of our 10-year capital plan, but we're not there yet.
Got it. Thank you. Um, Can you talk more about what you guys are doing in terms of community engagement? I didn't see much on the merger information that was submitted, but I would like to know more about what you guys are doing to engage the community in this process. And also, is any community input, are you guys planning to do any community input in terms of the projects and the capital plan and the safety net transformation fund that you guys getting?
So one of the things that's a part of being a part of the public hospital system is you have to create what's called a community advisory board. There's a board for every public hospital and major clinic, where there's a board of between 15 and 27 community advocates that regularly meet with senior leadership of the hospital and give community feedback on the hospital's patient relations, their strategic planning, their capital plans. Once we become a part of Health and Hospitals, we'll be creating our own community advisory board, and we'll be leaning on that partnership throughout these conversations I'm talking about, like creating this 10-year capital plan, which is the next big hurdle we have in the next year or two after this.
So when that happens, we'll highly suggest you guys to contact our office. We will definitely would like to be part of the conversation, given the population that is in the district receiving your services.
Appreciate it.
Can you walk us through what's next in terms of like, you guys have an April 1 deadline, a lot of issues in terms of like the legality, a lawsuit happening at the moment, and some opposition in terms of the Jewish Orthodox community that is being served for many years in that specific hospital.
So right now, the process is in the hands of lawyers to actually develop a final plan and submit that for approval for the state. Because at the end of the day, this is an application for merger that the State Department of Health has to approve. The Attorney General is essentially saying there's an additional step we have to go through before we get that approval. So I just want to give you context on what the headlines really are. We're confident we will meet that additional hurdle. We are hoping that we can do it by April 1st, but we're also realistic. It might be a little later than April 1st because we didn't plan for that. But I also want to be clear, April 1st is when the merger starts. You don't eat a whole elephant in one bite. So certain things will work out in phases, which is why our plan is to continue this conversation as we approach the next phase. I'm hoping we can come back in either June or September, give you another update. By then we'll have new leadership and they could give us clear instructions on the vision they have in their new regime for how they're going to step into the community in a way we haven't had a conversation with them yet.
One thing that I will ask is throughout the process from like starting the merger to like doing the plan, I'll highly suggest to include the community and to do it for the community and get input from the community. Because at the end of the day, the community is the one that will be receiving the services, the same services that you guys are going to be planning in the near future.
Or our partners.
There's an additional question from Pat.
Hi, could you remind us what are the zip codes that you cover, and are you looking to expand your zip code coverage?
So there's an analysis the state requires us to do every, I think it's 5 years. It's called the Community Health Needs Assessment. You could Google ours. I think the last one was in 2022. The reason I'm telling you that is because when you see the map in there of our catchment area, you start to understand, I think it's like 40 zip codes. Like, it's an incredible amount. Like, we serve essentially half of Brooklyn is our catchment area. Just
Okay.
different degrees of patients come from different
Right.
radius. And the radius is closest to the hospital, as you would assume. We have the most patients, but we have a footprint that extends all the way into Midwood and Canarsie.
Of the country. and other countries also.
Right. I do have one additional question, and that would be of the 11220, 11232, and whatever Windsor Terrace zip code might be, do you know the percentages from those zip codes? Because that's who we serve, District 7.
So
I'm
what I could do is
curious
I could
about that.
send the community board our last CHNA, and I could cite the page that gives you the breakdown by zip code of how many patients we get from each zip code. That way you could have those core numbers on how many inpatients and outpatients we have by the zip code. You'll be
And would
surprised.
that,
It was a
would
pretty
that
expensive.
also show the difference from, say, 2023 to 2026, increases or decreases?
So I could give you so CHNAs are made every, I think it's 5 years. The last one was 3 years old, so we're not expected to do another one for another 2 years.
Okay.
When we are required to do that, we prepare that kind of material and give you the breakdown. So I could give you the last one, and we're required to share the next one with the community board when it's prepared, and that'll give you an idea of where we've gone over the last 5 years.
Thank you.
So definitely we have some follow-up items, and I'll definitely continue this conversation offline so we can get those numbers and we can share that with committee as well. Any other questions from any questions on the room? No questions from me. Thank you so much for making the time to come to this community board and for briefing us on the latest in the merger. And we definitely will expect another update in the following months. And thank you for doing all of this.
Thank you for having us.
Problem.
Did you say something, Maria?
You're muted right now, so we can't hear you.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, so Ali, we've made you co-host and you can now unmute yourself and show your presentation.
Thank you, Maria.
Ali Babab? Oh, he said, can we hear him? No, we can't hear you. no longer have a. He's left the room, yeah, maybe he's trying to.
We are experiencing some difficulties with the presenter at the moment. We'll wait for an additional few minutes and see what happens. Thank you, everyone.
Hi everyone, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can
Sorry,
hear
I
you
don't know why my
now.
computer is acting up, but I'm just going to share my presentation so we can get started. Apologies for the delay and thank you for accommodating me and our agency. Give me 1 second. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. So my name is Ali Boivab. I'm with the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. I wanted to talk to you about, something that's probably on all our minds, and that's taxes. Some of you might have already done your taxes, and that's okay. But the program I'm going to talk about today, we run it every single year. Even if you have done your taxes and are not, don't want to think about it anymore, next year you can certainly use the program I'm going to talk about today. The Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, in a nutshell, does a lot. Partly, we hold businesses accountable for taking advantage of consumers, as well as holding bad employers accountable for taking advantage of workers. Just to give you an example, we recently sued Radiant Solar, a solar company taking advantage of homeowners, defrauding them. We also recently sued a big tow truck company that's going after consumers, overcharging them or towing them unnecessarily, towing cars of our consumers unnecessarily. On the worker end, we recently won a $38 million settlement on behalf of Starbucks employees. In restitution, Starbucks violated what is known as the Fair Work Week law, a law that we enforce. But we have another mandate, and that is our financial empowerment mandate. As part of our financial empowerment work, we operate the New York City Free Tax Prep Program. Under this program, New Yorkers can file their taxes free of cost at one of our over 140 locations. The way the program works, we partner with nonprofit organizations. We give grant money to a number of vetted organizations who then become host of free tax prep sites. The IRS already has what's known as the VETA program, through which volunteers can be trained and community-based organizations can host those volunteers to offer free tax prep services to their community. We take advantage of this program by giving some grants to nonprofit organizations, but also offering oversight, sort of a central body to ensure the program is running effectively. Last year, we helped over 100,000 New Yorkers, saving a grand total of $33 million in filing fees. In order to be eligible for the program, if you have a family and or dependents, your income has to be less than $97,000. And if you're a single filer, your income has to be less than $68,000. We also help small business owners file their taxes throughout the year. So if you're a small business owner, you probably have to file your estimated filings actually quarterly, which can be very, very expensive for a small business owner. We have sites throughout the city that offer year-round services to our small business owners to support them. For our regular personal and income tax, it ends with the tax season. There are various ways you can file your taxes free of cost with us. First is in-person tax prep, which is where you sit down with one of our IRS certified volunteers. You do your taxes together. Another is our drop-off service, where you take all your documentations, drop it off at a nearby site. And then your completed your return will be completed. You'll be asked to come back to sign and pick it up. Virtual tax prep, we've seen our young folks as well as our individuals with disabilities using virtual tax prep as a way of accessing services in an accessible manner. It's the same as in-person tax prep, but you do it online. Assisted self-preparation is when you do your own taxes online, but you reach out to one of our providers for assistance. So let's say you have a question about whether you can claim a certain credit or not. You can then reach out to one of our providers, but you are in charge of doing your own taxes with that fourth option. But our most popular option tends to be in-person tax prep. That is what majority of our locations host. Once you make an appointment with us, you have to bring the following documents. You need to bring your photo ID, tax ID, which can for some people include their ITIN number, proof of income, childcare expenses. Bringing receipts of daycare expenses can help get you a larger refund. Daycare indeed is expensive, and there are special credits for childcare expenses. Starting this year, IRS is phasing out paper checks, meaning that you will need a bank account or routing number to make sure your refund can be directly sent to your bank account. If you're filing a joint return, you need signatures of both spouses, including you and your spouse. Our services are provided in various different languages. We offer service in Spanish, Arabic, Bengali, and many, many other languages. Our providers each speak different languages. So if you go to our website, it will show you which providers speak what language, and you can visit the location based on your need, on your language need. We also offer other small business services, including consultations on how business owners can, for example, keep their private and business finances separate, which can make filing taxes a lot easier. But yeah, and that's done through our financial empowerment centers. So I'll quickly go through what that is afterward. We also host workshops throughout the year to educate our business owners, small business owners in particular, on how to, keep your records clean, make sure you're tracking everything in an organized manner. As I mentioned earlier, it says 130, but there are actually 140 sites that we have in all 5 boroughs. To find a site that is closest to you, you can call 311 and ask for tax preparation, or you can visit nyc.gov/tax prep. And when you do that, it will show you all the locations. So if you look at the picture on the left, it shows you all the different locations we have throughout the borough. So even if you are not eligible to use our free tax prep service, you have rights when you are, as a consumer, when you're receiving help or paying for a paid tax preparer. You have the right to receive a copy of your tax return. You have a receipt. You have the right to receive an itemized receipt, meaning just like when you go to the grocery store, they give you a receipt. In the same manner, a tax preparer must give you a receipt. Your personal papers must also be returned to you. If you give your social security card or any other personal documentation, the expectation is that they will return it to you. If for some reason we've seen certain bad actors not returning, for example, you have to pay you have to pay me more. A tax filer might say that. A bad tax preparer might say that. Or you might, you haven't paid yet, I'm not going to return your social security card. Those type of conduct is illegal. And if any of that ever happens to you, please file a complaint with DCWP, and we will take a look at it. We'll investigate and help you in the best way that we can. It is also illegal for a tax preparer to charge a fee based on the total amount of refund you're getting or the amount of taxes that you owe. For example, if I am to get a refund of let's say $3,000, a tax filer cannot charge me 20, 30, 40% of that. The service fee that they can charge needs to be a flat fee. It cannot be based on the amount of taxes that they're helping you resolve. Something else we've been seeing out in the consumer space is sort of advertisement of instant refund. Some filers are claiming they can give you an instant refund. That is not true. The government can take a long time to process your taxes, and it's certainly not instant. When we see advertisement of instant refund, it is often what's known as a refund anticipation loan. These are high interest loans that are disguised as refund. So by law, tax preparers cannot hide the fact that it is a loan that they're giving you. They have to disclose that to you. But there are many that will not. So it's important for you to ask if you see instant refund, hey, is this actually a refund anticipation loan? Or you can say, is this a loan that you're giving me? Finally, it's important to make sure all your information is accurate, mailing address, your name, bank account information, but also to remember that if you're paying someone to do your taxes, they need to sign the tax prepare section at the bottom of the form. By doing so, they assume liability. So if you're ever audited and there's an error in your tax document, you're not the only one carrying the brunt of that audit. If whoever helped you don't sign the document at the bottom, they are not legally responsible for the content of your tax file. So it's very important you remember if someone's helping you that they sign their name at the bottom as well. I mentioned this earlier, IRS is phasing out checks. We actually have what's known as nyc.gov/safestart. This is a city-run program, what we call the NYC Safe Start account. That it's a bank account with no monthly fees, a low minimum balance, and an ATM card. So if you have student loans and you've defaulted on them, meaning you haven't paid for 270 days, the Treasury might be able to seize part or all of your of your federal refund. In addition to the free tax prep program, we also run over 30 in-person financial empowerment centers where anyone over the age of 18 can visit, regardless of immigration status, to speak with a financial counselor free of cost. And here are some of the things financial counselors can help you with. At one of our centers, students can visit to discuss, for example, their student loan, how to come up with a repayment plan. People can also visit, create a spending plan, for example, to better understand their credit score, how to improve it, open a bank account, and create a savings plan, for example. There are people who might be afraid of contacting their lenders, for example. Many of our financial counselors will gladly help contact lenders on behalf of folks who might have debt that they're struggling with, and much, much more. Another part of our financial empowerment work is actually also, I'm going to highlight one of these programs, which is the Ready to Rent program. So if New Yorkers or if residents are interested in applying for affordable housing, there are certain strict, financial documentation requirements. Our counselors can actually help people prepare financial documents so they can apply for affordable housing on, let's say, Housing Connect or even NYCHA. Yeah, and then we partner with health and hospitals. We have our financial counselors at those locations. Many New Yorkers, as we know, and Americans in general, struggle with medical debt, and we're hopeful that the presence of financial counselors at those locations can help sort of come up with plans that doesn't crush our residents financially. All right. So if you have any questions, you can contact our Department of Community Affairs at dcwp.nyc.gov, or you can raise them now, and I can do my best to address them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm going to open the room for questions. Is anyone present have any questions? Is anyone virtually have any questions? No questions. Okay. I do have some follow-up questions. First, thank you for the presentation. Great presentation. Is it possible to get this presentation sent to our district office?
So it might be challenging for me to share the presentation directly, but what I can do is, this is exactly what our brochures contain. I will share both our tax prep brochure, which is in 12 languages, as well as our financial empowerment brochure, which is also in 12 languages.
Thank you for that. And also, I would like to get the information for the small business owner services,
Yes.
the renters, prepared renters program. I think that's an interesting one. And if you have any information in terms of like what to look for in tax season, like any scams like that, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. I think those are all good points. I'm gonna show you guys real quick how you can access sort of our map, just because I think it might address one question that you asked about the small business particularly. So if you look at our map and once you access it, you'll see blue dots, which is the regular dot, and then you'll also see yellow ones. Yellow ones are for self-employed, for our businesses basically. So we have a location at Grow Brooklyn. We have a location at Center for Family Life. I don't know if that's familiar to anyone. They're located at 443 39th Street, and they offer year-round services for small business owners with expenses of less than $250,000.
Thank you for that. And also, I would appreciate if we can get the link for that to distribute it to the community
Yeah,
at large.
absolutely.
Oh, there's a question, a virtual
Sure.
question.
Pat, you had your hand raised. Do you have a question?
My question was already answered. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. So other than the information that will be needed to distribute to our community at large, I think those are all my questions. But really great presentation, a lot of good information, and a lot of things that I learned today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want one last thing that, these are taxpayer funded program. We want New Yorkers to take advantage of it, including your community. So thank you for having me. And I'll be sure to follow up and share the brochures.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest
Take
of
care.
the night. With that, we will conclude our meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in person and virtually. And is done.
Good
Bye,
night,
everyone.
all.
Good night, everyone.
Get home safe.